Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. Hope you're having a fabulous week and your seahorse and reef tanks are amazing. Hopefully they're swimmingly great, right? I'm not good with the metaphors. Anyways, happy Wine Wednesday. I personally am sipping on some Chardonnay. Let me know in the comment section what you are sipping on. Uh, Vincent, what are you sipping on? You're actually
Um,
drinking wine with me.
I'm just a red wine. I'm not sure
Rip.
what bottle it was.
Well, I'm switch. You'll see me switch halfway through. I'm starting with Chardonnay and ending with Pinot Noir. So hey, whatever. Anyhow, Ray's with us. Holly's with us. Hi, Shyla. Guys, if you have any friends on Instagram, I'm having trouble getting the stream to Instagram lately. It used to go into the Seahorse Whisperer story and people could listen. It would look funny, but it would still go through. I'm using Yellow Duck. So if anybody out there uses Yellow Duck and has had trouble and figured it out, please let me know because we're currently not going to Instagram, which is a bummer. But I guess it brings more to the YouTube page. But if you have any friends on Instagram that usually watch, maybe mention to them, just go to Instagram. I'm sorry, Instagram. Just go to YouTube is what I meant to say. Sorry. Anyhow, tonight is just open chat. Hopefully, Mary will be joining us again. Hey, Salty Reef. Good to see you. And Zen Ginger. Wanted to let you guys, my only update for this, I have two updates. Three updates. My first update is I did finally get back into social media and post a picture on Facebook of my seahorses checking out the Robert King char chamber when I put it in the tank because I have the 40-gallon all-in-one and I had the chamber in the back in the in the compartment where equipment goes. And when Holly shared with me that her seahorses loved it so much, and other people have shared that they loved it so much, I put the char chamber or the Robert King char chamber back in the front of the tank. So the seahorses are loving it. I feel like it's working even better cleaning up the water because it's like in the action. And I mean, they're sleeping on it. They sleep with bubbles going up their butts. Okay. I mean, they love this thing. And so check out those pictures. They aren't very good pictures because I didn't have the lighting right, but I was like, I got to capture this moment because they were like, ooh, what's this? And now they won't leave the thing. They just love it. I did also copy Holly and get new decorations for my tank. I got some pink coral looking things and some yellow. Anyways, the tank's redone. I'll post some pictures. And the reason that I'm deep cleaning and changing things around is because next week I will have two new seahorses from Vincent. And before we jump in, it is open chat, guys. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Melinda. We can talk about whatever you guys want. But actually, before I jump to Vincent, I'm all over the place tonight. My first thing was the seahorses love the Robert King char chamber in the front of the tank. So if you're using one, give it to them where maybe you don't like to look at it, but they love it. So think of your seahorses, put it in the front. And number two is I have been talking to Dan. He's got some stuff going on, but I promise you guys we are going to do Seahorse Source Part 4 very soon. Third update is that I was notified when I was getting ready for tonight by YouTube that they made all these crazy changes, right? So we're going to have something really soon where I have made, you guys, seahorse emojis. I know I can't make it work on Facebook. I can't make it work on your phone, but you will be able to use seahorse emojis in our chat come next week. And there will be membership options if you just want to support the channel. And also all those cool shirts that I've been wearing now and then and showing you guys on the weekend or week that we did, our seahorse stuff. All those cool shirts will be available through the YouTube channel come next week. So tell your friends, make sure you come, and please support the channel. All right, that's it for my updates. But Vincent, I did want you, I know Holly's got some stuff to share too, but I did want you to share because we ran into, you were going to ship the seahorses this week,
Yeah.
but we ran into what? What happened?
Bad weather.
Bad weather. We
Bad
had
weather.
ice.
Ice in the major hubs where it would have had to pass by. So I had to pass. And
Absolutely. But you did. Sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
I'm going according to Ship Your Aquatics and their recommendation on when to ship. And because on certain situations, they will guarantee the shipment, when you're doing an overnight shipment, and it's expensive. and only if you get it delivered to a hub. Now, if it's delivered to an address, they won't guarantee it. It has to be delivered and picked up at the hub, and because like they don't even want it going out.
Sure.
But you can still send them to an address, and most of the time it's going to make it.
Scotty the Fish Freak is here to support the Zen Ginger in getting seahorses. Woo woo! We can't wait, and I can't wait either, Zen Ginger, to see your tank. It's going to be amazing. We love helping you, and we love that you've joined our community. But anyways, back to the shipping, because this is something that a lot of people deal with when they finally get fry, if they want fry, and they finally successfully raise them, is, you don't find many people close to you that want to buy them. If you want to go wholesale and deal with stores, you're not going to make as much, but you can go that route. But shipping is something that every new keeper, seller, however you want to say, every new breeder struggles with. When I shipped my seahorses, my fry to Felicia McCulley, I was a nervous wreck. And the bag leaked. The seahorses lived. She ended up raising them, and they had fry, and it was a wonderful ending to the story. But the shipping was a disaster because I didn't know what I was doing. I talked to Dan and Felicia and tried my best, but I screwed everything up. The bag leaked. They barely had any water. They were sideways. It was a mess. And then when Holly shipped her seahorses to me, she did an excellent job. To me, there was no problems. Would you agree, Holly?
Yeah, that one went well. Yeah.
Well, I got, see, now I'll start out with this box.
And so I'm leading into Vincent. What Vincent's getting ready to talk about is that he's more comfortable as he said, it's easier to ship to a hub. But in my case, where I live, the nearest hub is like 25, 30 minutes away. And so I don't want to drive with them still in the box, whatever. So if he can ship to my address, that's the best way that I would like for it to happen. And Vincent is more comfortable in doing that because he learned from Holly and learned a few tools to use, and he learned about boxes. Vincent, go ahead and tell us.
Well, one of the things I had, because there was another 4 that I needed to ship out yesterday. You're the first one. I mean, this is the first, because I haven't done it. But the first box I have is shallow.
Okay.
And then it's got a wider inside,
Yep.
but it's shallower.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking, maybe this is not the ideal box to ship seahorses in.
Right.
Because compared to this one that I did the styrofoam myself, it's deep.
Yeah.
It's deeper. So when you put the bag in, you're going to have a good amount of water. Try to keep it at 10 pounds total. When you put it in, it'll stand up, and the seahorses will have a bunch of water and then the oxygen. In the shallow one, the bag's going to lay sideways. And so they're only going to have a short area.
Yeah.
And then air. I don't think it would hurt them, but I don't think it's ideal.
I think the taller one's going to be better, and also your dimensions have an impact on the price of shipping. Yeah. So lower the box, the better off you'll be.
Both those boxes come out.
And I did was pack peanut stuff around the bags to hold them in place. Like insulation stuff all around the bag of water to keep it, as steady as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, Dan's seahorse, when Dan shipped, he always used those inserts that I saw in your box. The inserts help with, and then the peanuts. He would always. Another tip, Vincent, is to add something they can hitch to. You don't want anything that can hurt them, but what are you using? Gotcha. Now,
cut
now
them
is
up.
that okay?
It's from Coke bottles.
Okay. Is there anything that can go bad with that?
No,
Ray, thoughts?
there's no sharp edges or anything.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the whole thing. It would
Yeah,
only
I'm
be
thinking.
part.
I'm thinking of turtles in the ocean. Don't pay attention to
Oh, yeah,
me.
no.
But
Yeah, if
so
you
you're
cut
Hey,
it
using
they're
that, and
there, I
what?
banned
think
here.
that's probably perfect.
Yep.
They're
And
banned
what was
here in Canada now.
what, Ray?
They're banned here in Canada now. They have a cardboard set up.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
but
I
I
could,
still think it'll work well for this. And what's this tool, Vincent? Tell us what this tool is.
well, I got Holly showed me this. I don't know, a month ago, a couple months. It's a castrator, but it's for putting the bands on the bags.
Gotcha. And how's it work?
It works good. You'd spin
I
the
mean,
bag and put it on there, and multiple times, fold it, and just like you would a regular bag, a rubber band.
awesome. Okay. All right. So we're all set. So you
That's
guys,
Holly. Holly
yep.
told me that.
Go Holly. Thank you, Holly, for sharing such wise information.
That was Dan
And
told me about that. So thank Dan for that idea.
Yeah. And see, and
and
they're tough little bands, little bitty tiny.
right? Yep, I know and it makes it a little difficult to get them on too. So
Yeah,
I know
they're hard to
Holly.
get on the tool.
So next week, hopefully, I'll be able to show you the new Seahorses, guys,
Very
and
fine.
maybe Vincent and I can talk a little bit more about the shipping process if that's something you're interested in. Another thing that's going to come with the changes to the channel, like the membership and stuff, is that you guys will be able to request topics and really guide what we talk about, so it's more interesting for you because different people want to learn different stuff, and we are all behind Zen Ginger getting her Seahorses, and I can't wait. And maybe, if this all goes well, maybe you'll get them from Vincent. We'll have to see. Or me if I ever have Fry to sell. Or not Fry, but adolescents. Anyhow, I did want to kind of say real quick from the comment section, we were talking about Felicia a little bit. I mentioned her in the intro when I talked about how she's the first person I ever shipped Seahorses to. And I did a disastrous job, but she recovered the Seahorses. That was her most recent pair of Seahorses, was mine. Ray, you asked if she was still keeping them. I'm honestly not sure. She works for Biota now, so I know she probably still works with them, but I don't know if she's keeping them in her home. She did take my pair and extend that to create many other pairs because they bred like little rabbits for her, and she is an amazing photographer, and she took amazing pictures of them, so I'll have to share them on my page soon. But Scotty mentioned that she's spoken at the clubs. Absolutely, Felicia's definitely a resource, and that is why, as I mentioned, that if I could find the comment, well, I can't find the comment, but bottom line is Felicia actually, there it is. Felicia actually, I couldn't make it to MACNA last year, and every year I host the Women in Reefing and the Seahorse and Pipefish events at MACNA, and I couldn't make it. So I had Joanne run Women in Reefing, and Felicia is actually the one that ran Seahorse and Pipefish event. That is another thing, you guys, that when this website gets up, hopefully by next week, you're going to be able to watch the MACNA events. And so last year she had to include me virtually, but she ran it, did a fabulous job. We talked about so many interesting things, and she's there with me every year. So love Felicia. Wanted to give a shout out. Felicia McCulley is the bomb, especially when it comes to seahorses and just reefing in general. So check her out. If you don't know her, you need to know her. And yeah, I'm very proud to say that her last pair of Seahorses came from WA, and it was amazing. All right, back to the point. Salty Reef wanted to know where you get that tool, Vincent.
Tractor Supply.
Yep.
Okay.
Any place, yeah, that has farm animal stuff. See, I got mine at Tractor Supply also, but anywhere that's like a feed store or something, if you don't have Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
Scotty also mentioned that the Keystone Clash, never heard of that. It's an event, apparently in Pennsylvania in September. We'll have a saltwater section this year. We will have saltwater vendors, frag swap, and maybe a saltwater speaker. Nice, very cool, Scotty. September is usually when they have MACNA. So we'll have to see how those dates coincide, because I'll be at MACNA this year for sure. But very cool. I love when people tell about their local shows and stuff. So thank you. And definitely share about it. I mean, anytime you guys, oh, that was another side note that I really needed to say out loud. I went on Facebook and posted that picture of my seahorses on the Robert King Char Chamber. And I was on Facebook and just realized that I had probably 150, no joke, friend requests. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? Because I don't even have an excuse. I'm just bad. Naughty Kelly. I just haven't been keeping up with social media like I should. I'm getting back into it, I promise. But if you friend requested me and I did not accept you, please do it again, or please message me, because I did not intentionally not accept you. I just didn't even know they were sitting there, right? Because I suck. That's the end of that. But I just wanted to mention that because I felt really bad. I was like, accept everybody. But anyhow, yeah, last thing with that, I know I'm jumping around, but Vincent, I'm so excited. And you're going to get me a flirty male and female, right? So they can all choose partners.
Yeah. What I was going to say.
Go ahead, sorry.
It's funny. I'm having a run on females. Everybody is wanting females. And I started thinking, man, I'm going to sell all of them. And, I mean, I'm still pretty balanced. But I did go to the aquarium shop I go to where I have my seahorses. He has a tank set up for him. Beautiful little tank. Decent sized tank. And it has 6 seahorses. And I took pictures of everything in the store today, or videos, and didn't take any pictures of that tank.
Ah, Vincent, in the world. But that's great. And I wonder.
Go back.
Yeah, that's it. You wanted an excuse to go back.
Yeah.
And do you guys think that the reason that people are requesting to buy females more now is because we talk too much about pouch emphysema and that kind of stuff? Or is it because people don't want fry? So they don't get less females.
They don't want fry. And that's a wise move if you don't want to deal with fry. I mean, either 2 males or 2 females.
Yeah, but Holly, this question I'm pointing at you, and then I'll point one at Ray. But Holly, don't you find that the males are typically more attractive? Or do you disagree with that?
Yeah. There's some differences. I'll say my females are more interactive with me than the males are. The males are more spectacular looking, in my opinion, as far as their coloring and stuff. But I mean, I have some pretty females too, but the males definitely stand out more. But the females are more interested in interacting with me than the male.
You want to know something funny? It's
other than
exact.
Too. It depends on the seahorse, I guess.
It does, but I was going to say it's the exact opposite for me. When I had like 6 different species in my house, every new species, I'd have to learn them. Learn them, that's not even a correct English phrase, but I'd have to get to know them, get to know their habits, their behaviors, their personalities. But Sean and I used to have a joke because he'd walk up and he always wears hats, and the females would just flock to him. And he used to make a joke that it's because he had a coronet. But anyways, the females don't like me. I don't know what it is, but I've always gotten along better with the males. The males interact with me, and the females are kind of like, You know, Ray, what's your experience? Are the males better looking than the females, and who interacts with you differently?
Uh, I don't see that males are more attractive, um, but that's a personal thing, and that's with 7 different species.
Mhm.
Now, one species was dwarfs, and it's pretty hard to say a dwarf male is more attractive than a female, or a female more attractive than a dwarf when they're that small.
Right.
But in the other species, I think I can say I find some species more attractive than others, but I can't say that there's a set pattern of in any one species where I would say the males are more or the females are more. It's something that it's partly subjective, but it's partly also the individuals that are involved. Um,
No, I agree with you
I've had,
100%.
generally speaking, I guess you could say females are more active, um, but personally, I don't find them to be less attractive or more attractive. But generally speaking, they are more attractive or they are more active. But partly that's because the males become so reclusive when they're carrying.
Yep, yep. And I would say, does everybody notice Ray's being very careful about how he talks about the females? No, I'm just teasing you.
Well,
But
I've had a couple very striking females.
right,
Like Princess, remember that she was really white with like pink, like
yep,
highlights? Very
yep.
pretty.
Well,
But
I think
it's an individual thing, maybe.
the
What?
erectus, the male, to me is so much more bigger. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just a bigger
Hmm.
presence. The males in the erectus,
Yeah.
in the
You need
red,
to get some abs then.
I didn't
Wait,
notice it
guys,
as much.
wait. We can't talk over each other because I missed Ray. What did you say?
Needs to get some abs if that's his thoughts on erectus.
Because in the abs, the females are more.
No, and abdominalis, the male is so huge with that
Oh yeah,
approach. Uh, when he's not pregnant, he looks like he's pregnant.
gotcha. And
Like they're just huge.
No,
Vincent, go ahead and finish what you were saying.
well, and the reed eye, I didn't notice as much difference between the male and the female, size wise or anything, but I do in the erectus. At least when I was, because it's been years since I've had reed
No,
eye. But
I agree with you on the reed eye about size. When I had two reed eye, the female was as big as the male, but that's kind of where I'm pulling this thought, my personal opinion, that sometimes the males are prettier because with the reed eye and the Barbary, to be honest, the male had markings and spots and different colors all over its body, and the female, and I'm going to go back and say, Ray, I think you just nailed it. It depends on what you're looking for, right? Because if you want a
Yeah.
porcelain white seahorse or a almost seahorse, with my Barbary, the female was literally almost see-through. She was almost, I mean, it looked like you could look through her. That was the color. It was like no color. It was so crazy. It was so pretty. And then she had pink tones and white tones, like creamy. I mean, she was beautiful. But the male was, to me, more beautiful because he had all the markings and the
Mhm.
brightness and all that. So it does kind of depend on what you personally like, but I don't know. And with erectus, yeah, with erectus, they're all so different. I've had in my how to set up a seahorse tank, or even my how to set up a seahorse tank junior, the one my daughter did, you can see the seahorses when they're huge, like a foot, like bigger than my head, or bigger than her head, swimming up. And there's white ones and purple ones and brown ones and so many different colors and patterns. Erectus, it's just, you just never know, and they change. I always say don't buy based on color, because depending on what you have in your tank or the water quality or just their mood and who they're with and their
it's,
courting behaviors, it'll
a lot of
change.
it's their mood.
Yeah.
you know, because even at night, from day to night, when the lights go off,
Yep.
they go through a change. They lighten up at night. It seems like, you know, I mean, they look white. You know, I mean, start whitening up, and then when the lights come on, they get darker.
See, that's so funny when we have these conversations. I love it. And I love when you guys in the comment section, you know, interact with us, because I have, again, the exact opposite situation. I have a video out there. I'll try to link it when we're done, but it's talking about it, and it shows. I literally show with a time lapse where when I first turn the lights on, my seahorse is really dark. And then as he comes to life and wakes up and, you know, starts swimming around, then he lightens up. So I have the exact opposite situation. So funny.
I haven't noticed that either myself. Well, because I have so many lighting options now that I've played around with.
Right.
One of the main things I found is they just look different under different lighting
That's
conditions.
true too.
So sometimes it's not necessarily that they changed, but that you're seeing them differently because of the way the light plays on them.
I remember,
Totally agree with you on that one. But in my case, in the video that I'm talking about, I will find it, you guys, and link it. In the video I'm talking about, there were no light settings. It was the macro tank. It was the when I had the Fluval macro, or the Fluval 24/7 light over it. So I didn't use any of the settings for any of the, you know, gradually turn on, gradually, none of that. Literally, it came on and it went off. And in this video, I am videotaping. I turn it on, and he's all dark and sitting there looking like he's asleep. And then as he's, I mean, you can watch him change color. It was crazy. But that might be an individual thing again, too, right?
and it could be just, I mean, just way up, you know, because when my lights are out, it's, you know, I mean, you got no light, nothing reflected off, so they look light to me. But when the lights are on, I can see all the patterns and stuff in there.
Sure.
And
Reflection. I totally agree. Hey, I'm going to take it out in left field one more time again. You know, I ramble, guys. But hey, for those of you in the audience right now, the other thing I forgot to mention, with all these changes to the YouTube site and to the website and to the, you know, available shirts and membership and emojis, Seahorse emojis and all that stuff, we need to do a giveaway, because we really appreciate your supporting the channel. We are over 3,500 subscribers now because of you, and we want to give back. So I need to know what kinds of things you guys want to be given away. For instance, Aquachar for sure. We can talk about char chambers for sure. But I want to know what kind of giveaways would be good for you, what you would like. You know, like Zen Ginger, for you, what would be a good giveaway that you would love to win? You know, maybe
Seahorses.
Well, I can't give away Seahorse. I don't have them to give away yet, right? Maybe if we find a vendor, Vincent. But
while
I'm just thinking, like,
get the shipping down pat, and
yes,
and get that. And another thing is when you ship any livestock, it's expensive. You know.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So we might not be able to do that yet, but for you guys in the audience, I just want to know, like, what would be something that you not only would want to win, but you think would bring more people to the channel to win and to, you know, then get into our conversation. Like, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a gift card to macro, somewhere to buy macros. It could be, I mean, again, we have to think shipping. That's the big key. It's much easier to give away things like Aquachar because I can just ship it myself and it's easy. But just let me know what kinds of things would be interesting to you for a giveaway, because I said I was going to do it at 3,000 and I didn't do it. And now we're way up there. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And let's see. Tanya said when her lights are off, the seahorses are light. See, you guys, that's just crazy to me. It really does show how they're individuals, you know, because
water chemistry and everything.
You know what? I kind of noticed that because now that my camera takes pictures in the dark, when I take pictures of them, I'm able to take pictures of them in the morning before the lights are even on when the tank is dark, and they do show up as lighter. They're lighter colored.
Sorry, that's so interesting to me. I was responding to Salty. That is the junior video. Thank you for sharing it, Salty. And I honestly can't remember which video it was where I show the seahorse changing color. I'll have to find it, but I will, and I will link it. But and someone said too, I'm interested too in the fact that you guys think that the females are more active. That's really interesting to me because what I'm thinking of is frankly the bachelor pad I had to set up because I had 3 males that didn't like other seahorses. And they weren't like what you would call active, but they would chase each other around the tank, snicking each other and like
Mhm.
fighting, wrestling each other. And they were just awful until I put them in their own tank. And then they just left each other alone. It was really crazy. But like when I think about it, my females chill. They're active in that they swim around and they, whatever, they hitch to different things. They don't just stay in one spot. So I guess that's active. But as I said before, they don't like me as much as they like Sean. The males love me, and the males are just chasing the females constantly and chasing the males constantly. So where do you get the females are more active? I'm just curious.
Yeah, but see, that's
It's
that's where you.
probably an individual thing.
Yeah, but that's where when you have females and males together, and they wanting to mate. Well, the males will chase after another male because that
Mhm.
male a lot of times is trying to interfere
Mhm.
with the one male and the female. At least I've had it happen.
Sure.
Mhm.
As soon as they start courting and stuff like that, another one to jump in, and then the males chase each other, and but that's just
That's more courting behavior. But have
right.
any of you
Yeah.
kept
I
have
think
any
it
of
depends
you
on what you have going on in the tank because I had to move the ones in my display tank to the grow out tank for a night
Yep.
the other day because I had something happen. But but the males became more active because suddenly they were surrounded by more seahorses and more females, so they were busy, checking
checking them
things
out? Yep.
out and establishing their dominance and territories, and things like that. But normally, my males, unless they're courting, they just hang out in their favorite spots, and the females do more of the interacting with me and exploring the tank and that kind of thing.
Well, and Ray mentioned that the males are very inactive when they're pregnant.
Mhm.
I've definitely seen that. But have any of you guys kept a female only or male only tank?
My grow out tank is close because I only have one male in there. I have 6 females and one male.
And is that tank more active than your other tank?
Well, yeah, they're pretty active, I think, because there's only one male in there.
Gotcha.
So the females are pretty active in that tank because there's a lot of competition going on, I think. And yeah, there's a
Well,
lot more going on.
I was going to say everything we're talking about leads me to the conclusion that I did do the right thing setting up the bachelor pad for those 3 males that just were mean to every other seahorse male or female because when I did put the 3 of them in a tank by themselves, they found their territories. They became a lot less active for sure
Mhm.
because there wasn't, like you said, the competition, maybe the
There's that no
dominance thing,
competition.
but they just went and did their own thing and they were less active. Come to think of it, they just kind of chilled. So that's interesting, really interesting. Oh, and Tanya has 2 females. So is that tank really, really, really active, Tanya? I'm curious. But and did you get a hold of Mary, Holly?
Nope, she's not around right now, so I don't know if something came up maybe or what, because she had said she was going to come, but she hasn't been online in an hour or so, so maybe she had something
Okay.
going
No
on.
big deal. Just a reminder to anybody out there, if you ever want to, Tanya, any of you guys, if you ever want to jump in, show your tank, talk to us about it, we'd love to have you. You just message any of us, and we can give you the link.
So
But
since
go
she's
ahead,
not here, I can kind of update you on
please, please.
what's going on and what she's kind of looking to find out. Okay, so with her female, remember that had the tail bubble, it turned into a hole. Like, remember what
Oh,
thing two had?
oh no.
Okay, so she's still treating her, she's still on the antibiotics. And we were discussing when to stop antibiotics because she was wondering if she should take a break. And I told her about my experience with thing two, and that Dan and Cheryl both said, no, don't stop the antibiotics, keep them going until it's completely healed. But then I remember there was a point, and I think it was 2 or 3 months in, when Dan said, if you continue the antibiotics, that's going to kill him. So
Right.
I can't remember what is that point? Do you judge it by their behavior or is it an actual time period?
I've never
Right.
gone until a wound was healed, uh, but I've gone until I see that a definite improvement is occurring, and stop at that point. Uh, when if I've gone 3 sessions of antibiotics and there is no improvement, then I stop. Uh,
Okay.
Wait. Do you switch and try a different antibiotic at that point, Ray?
no, because basically I haven't had access to different ones. Uh, it's a lot
If
harder
you
for us here in Canada. Like we have nothing here that we can use anymore.
Right. But I'm saying if you had been able, because in my case, that's what I've done. I've done 1 round, maybe two of an antibiotic, and if it's not working and it's getting worse, not better, then I will switch to a different antibiotic because there are different ones for different things. You don't know if it's gram positive, gram negative, blah blah blah. So if you could have, would you have?
Probably not, because for the types of infections that seahorses routinely get, it's going to be gram negative, first of all. And on top of that, we're usually using ones that take care of gram negative and positive. Like when you're looking at the Furan 2 and you're dosing it along with the trisulfa, that pretty well covers anything a seahorse is going to get. If you don't have that, then obviously you can use something else. There are other things that are effective, but over the years, when I think back to 20 years ago, when we did have antibiotics that were available to us, um, and I'm trying to think now, the one that I liked was the saltwater maricin. Uh, I can't remember now whether it was one or two. One was for gram negative and one was for gram positive. And but the maricin one that I did use, it was just as effective as the furon and trisulfa. But for me, it was too expensive.
Mhm.
The maricins were far more expensive than buying the furan 2 plus the trisulfa.
Right. Well, I'm thinking of things like here we have Canaplex, and I really like Canaplex. I want, if I ever have a 6 Seahorse again, I'm going to try to use Canaplex to see how that equates to a treatment of Furon 2 and triple sulfa, because that's what I've always used is Furon 2 and triple sulfa, and they are becoming harder to get, and etc. So
I
I just
used
know
Canaplex for thing
I
two.
really like it.
I've used it.
And so I'm just saying there are different stuff, and I just would say, like, if you're a if you're dedicated like I am and like Holly is, and that seahorse is your baby, right? And you've tried for 2 rounds of a certain antibiotic, you don't want to quit. You never switch before you complete the treatment time, because then you can create resistant bacteria or whatever that's going to be really bad. So don't ever quit an antibiotic until you've completed the course. But if I did 2 rounds of treatment and it wasn't showing any improvement, I would likely switch to something else and try something else or add something else into the mix. That's something we'd have to talk to you about, to those of you in the audience, like one-on-one, to really work out what can be mixed together and etc., and what can be switched to. But I think I would try something else. And I think, Holly, to answer your original question, if you've gone 2 months and you see, like, it depends on if you're seeing improvement, right? Like,
She's
if it's
seeing
just a slow,
improvement, but like I said, the redness is gone. But it's kind of the same thing that thing 2 went through, because remember, he looked better, but then he got a hole. It was kind of an up and down thing. So she's got the bubble opened up into a hole now, which is exactly what happened with thing 2, but it's not as big an area of infection, and it's not reddish anymore.
Well,
And
it
I
sounds like
talked to her about the debride, because I remember that helped me a lot, but she was having trouble finding it, and I lost mine. I can't find it anywhere. I was going to send her some. She used the Diamox. I sent her some Diamox, and she
that
was
didn't
using
help.
that. No, she's seeing, like I said, she's seeing improvement, but still the hole developed, which I think it was going to anyway. Because if you remember, how bad it looked, that's just part of the process of it, I think. Because thing 2 was the same way.
Well, and that's interesting, and I definitely don't want to ever discourage anyone, but in my case, when I dealt with tail bubbles, it never turned into a hole. And this is kind of making me remember something Dan said. I will get with him this week and try to have some answers next week. But I think when it becomes a hole, it's something different, like
I
a
think
different
when you have a
strain.
hole, though, it's more important to have the tank extremely clean.
Yes,
That's more important than the antibiotics.
I
Oh,
agree.
That's just personal experience over the years that I found.
So she should be doing, like, I mean, water changes daily, probably, like
Daily,
huge.
50% daily.
Yeah. Because, well, you're supposed to do that anyways with the
yeah,
treatment,
I'll
but
pass it. Well, yeah, so I'm sure she's been following the treatment, so she's doing half every day, but maybe do 100% water changes daily.
or 80 or whatever she's comfortable with. But yeah, because clean water can cure things you can't imagine. I agree with Ray on
Yeah.
that.
And to me, I mean, in a 10-gallon tank, that's not a lot of water.
No.
And
The thing is,
also,
you go through a lot of salt in
right,
the hospital tank. I
right.
remember that.
But also, to me, the thing that always kind of clicks with me is the seahorse still eating? If the seahorse is still eating, to me, there's still hope. Period.
That's
That's
what I was telling her, and I said, you probably want to keep the antibiotics going until she
especially
acts
if she's seeing
like
improvement.
she's not well.
Right.
So
Especially if she's seeing
maybe at
improvement.
least another round, because I think she just finished. She's a little bit past the round 1, past the 10 days. I think she's maybe
Oh, yeah.
12 to 15 days in.
She should definitely do another round. I agree. And Zen, first of all, I wanted to say, Salty Reef, I saw your comment that your website will be up again live in April. Woo! Yay! And you got to get with me on the side to let me know what you're up to, because we're still hoping someday you do those clean macros and clean seahorses. We are so hoping, and clean tank mates. That'd be awesome. But Zen Ginger asked, do freshwater dips do anything for seahorses like saltwater dips for freshies? Ray, you want to take us off?
Yes.
There you go. Yes. No, I would say we'll talk about it a little bit, but we did and like I think it was Ask Seahorse Source Part 2. I'll have to look it up. Might have been 3. I'll look it up and put it in the comments, but if you go watch that, Dan goes into detail about how to do a freshwater dip, why to do it, when to do it, what to look for. He covers all that. They're incredibly great as a they can be a treatment, but they are mainly used as a diagnosis tool, a diagnostic tool. Ray, what do I mean by that? Diagnostic tool.
Well, basically for us, what we look for when we're doing a freshwater dip on a seahorse, we're looking to see if there's any serious activity, reaction from the seahorse to the exiting of the gills and that with the parasites. The parasites will explode from the fresh water, and you can actually see them burst out and get into the water column. And so that's telling me when I see that that particular seahorse has a problem, and the other ones in the tank are probably going to come down with it if I don't do something about it. And sometimes the freshwater dip in itself, if you're maintaining the seahorses' nutrition level so that their immune systems are fairly well, then that freshwater dip may be enough to solve the problem. But if not, you're going to have to be prepared to do something like a formalin bath or a formalin dip, and then change your protocols for your display tank so that you're not promoting that expansion of the parasitic activity. Especially because if the parasitic activity is expanding, the bacterial activity is also going to be expanding, and that can lead to other problems.
And I'm going to give you the hobbyist answer of what he just said, because Zen Ginger said that sounds fascinating and terrifying. And it is. The first time I gave a seahorse a freshwater dip, the seahorse did have some sort of parasitic. I likely think it was high ciliates in the tank because I wasn't taking care of the tank. I'm going to ask Holly to talk about that in just a second. But my seahorse flipped out. So I've never seen, like Ray described, stuff coming out of the gills and exploding. I've never seen that. But I put this seahorse in a freshwater dip, and Dan explained to me the seahorse is not hurting. What's going on if the seahorse reacts to the freshwater dip, likely like a freshie taking a saltwater dip? If it reacts, meaning if the seahorse starts using its tail to scratch its gills and flipping upside down and acting like it's in pain, what's really going on is that the parasites are getting killed and they don't like it, so they're trying to attach or whatever.
Trying to get out.
Trying to get out or get, dying, and the seahorse, it's itching the seahorse. So it looks like the seahorse is in a lot of pain, but they're not. It's helping them. The freshwater can't hurt them. It's used as a diagnostic tool constantly. Like, even if you just think there might be a problem, you give a seahorse a freshwater dip and then you can tell. And Holly, I want you to talk a little bit about this because you dealt with it with ciliates and you realized that you did not have a ciliate problem because your seahorse did not react, right?
Yeah.
So tell us.
So basically the process is you get a container. I use personally just a large fish bowl, that's big enough for the seahorse and maybe like a gallon of water or so. And you want to use distilled water or RODI water. You want to match it for temperature and salinity. But Dan let me know pH and all that's not important because they're not going to be in there long enough for it to matter. So you put the seahorse in, and it's a 12-minute process, but you want to watch continuously. And at the 8-minute mark, if the seahorse is calm and not freaking out, you can put them back home. It means they don't have a high load of ciliates. If they start to get irritated, start freaking out at the 8-minute mark, you leave them in for 4 minutes more to a total of 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And because that extra 4 minutes is where those parasites will be dying. They can't survive in the fresh water that long, but the seahorse can. So after the 12 minutes, then okay, so that seahorse has ciliates. You
Or
kill
something.
some of them, yeah, or whatever parasite was bothering it. Usually it's ciliates. But at that point, like Ray said, you've probably got high ciliates in the tank. Your other horses probably have them too. And then you might want to treat farther, with formalin or what have you. You
And like
know
Ray said, then figure out how to clean the heck out of your
how to
tank
treat the tank.
because,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when in my case, because I haven't had seahorses many, many years like some people have, so I would see my seahorses would occasionally cough or sneeze or scratch or rub themselves on stuff. And I'm like, well, how do you tell if there's a problem or not? Because I'm not used to seeing it, so I don't know. So in my case, my seahorse Candy volunteered for a freshwater dip.
I bet she
Just
did.
so yeah, yeah, I volunteered her. But yeah, so what happened was I put her in and she was totally calm. She didn't freak out, you know, made it to the 8 minutes. And by then she's like looking around like, I want to get out of here. When do I get to go home? I don't like fresh water. But she
Right.
wasn't acting like she had anything on her. So I just sent her home. Now I did a freshwater dip on my juveniles a couple years back after I moved Scrappy Doo and Sadie into the display tank. They were still fairly small
Mm-hmm.
and they were acting, like ciliates were bothering them, scratchy and stuff. And Scrappy Doo at that time, he was smaller than anyone when I moved him into that tank. He was only a few inches, so I think they just bothered him more. So when I did the freshwater dip on them, they did freak out a bit at around the
Mm-hmm.
8-minute mark. And then I just left them in for another 4 minutes and I ended up putting them back in the tank. I didn't treat them farther, but they grew. And I think I changed the tank then. That's when I got rid of my live rock and everything. And so I think I eliminated a lot of the ciliate population. And also they grew bigger, so that didn't bother them as much.
Right.
So there was a few factors at work there.
Sorry, guys. I was trying as you're talking. I was trying to find my video of my seahorse freaking out, but I can't find it. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me.
Oh, Gina's Reef also made a great comment. It's very important to have an air stone going if you're going to dip for more than 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
We should have mentioned that
Yeah,
because
yeah, you put
absolutely.
air too.
I've never
And
used air in a freshwater dip.
really?
Never.
What?
They're not in there very long though, so I can see that actually.
You're just up there for 12 minutes.
It's
The
the
water,
same with the pH, like Dan said. He said, don't worry about it. They're
no,
not in there long enough.
no.
Well, I'm going to say for anybody
I
out there
always
that's
put an
new,
air stone, but I bet I totally think Ray's right about that.
he is probably right, but I'm going to say, please use an airline just to be safe.
I
Okay,
just feel like I
because
want them to be comfortable. Now
right.
I'll put a plastic plant in there for them, something to hold on to, and I try to make them comfortable. But
And
If they've
can
got
you
any
talk?
parasites and they're starting to thrash around, putting
they're
something
not
in
going
for
to
them to hold
care.
on to isn't going to matter.
Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
Gina's Reef said, to my understanding, matching pH is very important for freshwater dips. We also match the pH for our freshwater dips at the store. The fish are already stressed from being sick, so why add to that by, I'm guessing, not having the same pH? And Holly, can you
It's
go ahead and
very
check?
hard to match pH, fresh water to salt water.
Yep.
Very hard. And for 12 minutes, it doesn't matter. Dan told
Well,
me that because I was worried about because I'm like, I'm gonna have to add buffer, I'm gonna have to do all, and he says, no, don't worry about it. He says, don't match anything but the temperature, and that's it.
I will say
I
that when
think
I
I
did my
said salinity, but you're not matching salinity because it's fresh
no,
water.
I would say I'm kind of with Gina on this. I respect Dan. I respect everybody here, but just for me, because I'm a mommy of these seahorses and they're not just my pets, I'm gonna do like Gina. I matched the pH. I matched the temp. I did all those things because I wanted to. So you probably don't have to, but
You
just for this
definitely don't have
channel,
to.
No.
okay. Well, but for
Yeah,
the
I
for
I've
would
done a
the
say you
lot of
don't have
believe
to at all. And it's hard to
I
match fresh
know, I know.
water to
I'm
salt.
just
Very hard.
saying. I know. I just don't want the channel to get in trouble, Holly and Ray. Come on now. You probably don't have to, but I'm going to say for the record, match pH if you can. If you can't, if it's an emergency situation, you don't need to, but if you can match pH, definitely match temperature because, and I think it is different for seahorses than other saltwater fish because of their makeup. I really do think
Mhm.
there's
They're a lot
something different
tougher in
about it.
that way.
Yeah.
They can be in
Um,
air longer too. I had a discussion with somebody about that earlier today. They can hold water in their gills
yes, they
for a
can. Seahorses are unique little creatures, just like a snail that can live outside the water and can be scrubbed in fresh water and stuff because they lock their stuff up and they have their salt water internally. Zen Ginger said, "I assume you'd use the same water you use for the tank, but minus the salt, correct? Or does it need to be remineralized or RODI or something?
I've used RODI. I've also used straight
Distilled.
distilled water right out
Yep.
of the jug.
Yep. Buy it at the store. Easy peasy if you don't have the RODI machine. And Ray, you said main thing is to know what? The actual volume as treatment meds are basically calling for
Oh,
10 gallon.
I misunderstood. Then I had
Oh,
just come back from feeding my seahorse and didn't catch up. And I thought she was talking about like a hospital tank, what to use for a hospital tank. And then when I realized it, then made the correction that basically you can use any container. For me, I usually used a 2-cup measuring cup. That was big
gotcha.
enough to do the job and it allowed me to see.
Yep. Well, making sure your measurements are right is very important. And Gina said it's not a problem for them. She has a store, right, guys? So it's a little bit different. They have soda ash mixed on hand, and it just takes a few. What the heck is soda ash? I don't even know what that is. Do you guys know what that is?
Wood
Soda
ash, I think.
ash?
Some
Huh?
people use wood ash.
Mhm.
Gina, we need. Oh, Vincent knows. What is it?
It's a buffer. It's
Okay. I assumed it was a buffer, but what is there anything special
well, I
about
mean,
it,
it's
Vincent?
I don't use it for the seahorses. I use it to raise my pH in my reef tank. A 3-part. I use magnesium, and I forget what else, but and to use it, so it is. You just like they said, just you could buffer the water.
Well, Gina's Reef said soda ash raises KH in the water, which raises pH. Makes sense, but is it like I know that in the past with my reef tanks and Seahorse tanks, I've used different products. I like Seachem, so I've used their reef builder and their, oh God, Reef Ready or something like that. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but there's two different ones. And one raises the pH without touching the KH somehow, and the other one raises both. And I know the one that raises both takes like time. It's not instant. So is soda ash like an instant thing where you add it and the pH is what you want it to be and it doesn't fluctuate? I'm just curious. And also, Gina's Reef said, usually sick fish are already gasping and having trouble breathing, so maxing the oxygenation of the water would make the fish more comfortable. Speaking about the airline. True. But what we're talking about with seahorses is a little
They're
bit different.
different.
Yeah,
They
they're not
don't. They
gasping.
aren't gasping. They're comfortable in fresh water for a while.
Well,
They're different.
but I think she means like if you're going to do a freshwater dip, the fish is already sick and usually gasping and having trouble breathing and etc. That's not it with seahorses. With seahorses, they cough, and they kind of spit out food when they have a ciliate problem in their gills, or they're constantly using their tail to scratch their gills. I look like a dog, but that's okay. Or they're rubbing up against objects. That's kind of how you know they're itching.
I
There's a
think of
problem,
it like
but they're
fleas on a
not
dog.
freaking out. Right. So it's not
It's
making
like
them
a
not
dog
breathe.
with fleas. Yeah.
So Gina, you're absolutely right in everything you're saying, and I still use air stones in my freshwater dip just because I feel like it makes it better. But with seahorses, obviously Ray's done this for a really long time. He knows what he's saying. You don't probably need it, but I'm gonna do it anyways, just like you
I'd
said.
like to see somebody do a measure on the DO when they first put the seahorse in, and then after the 12 minutes. I bet you don't find much of a difference.
On
Really?
the what?
The DO.
There's all oxygen.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, I know I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying you're wrong, Ray. I'm just
Yeah, I don't
channel
think there's
sake.
much difference.
I'm just still
12
gonna.
minutes.
I know, but I'm still just gonna dang well do it because it makes me feel better. Tammy asked, Kelly, did you get new seahorses today? Boo, I did not. We talked about that at the very beginning, and I am getting them next week, hopefully for sure. But Vincent is extremely careful with his horses, which I appreciate. And the bottom line is, this Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had ice, and the hubs were delayed, and he didn't want his seahorses sitting in shipment, which I appreciate. So no, I didn't get them today. But when I do get them next week, you guys will all see them. I might even, when we're live next week, I might even figure out a way to show you guys them. If not, at least post some videos and pictures. But next week. Anyways, what else?
Oh, yeah, Tammy. Yeah, I was going to message you back and tell you they canceled shipping anyway because of the storms.
Oh, is Tammy waiting on seahorses too?
Yeah, I was going to try and ship her out some too.
Well, it's not just you, Tammy. I didn't get them either. Vincent's careful with his seahorses, which I appreciate. Getting seahorses is fantastic and you want them so bad, but you don't want them to be lost in the damn mail. Cheryl's had a good experience where she was able to recover seahorses that were lost in the mail for 6 days, but I'm not sure I would have that same luck, right? So, yeah. But yeah, Tammy, we'll have some sisters and brothers and relatives all across the world. Can't wait. And I haven't seen you for a while. I haven't talked to you for a while. If you ever want to jump in here and share, you're welcome. But glad to have you in the comments. And glad that we'll both have Vincent's seahorses. You need a name, Vincent. You need like a brand name. Vincent's Seahorses, But I mean, since that last batch that you were so successful with, have you not been getting more fry, or
I purposely put it where I wouldn't be getting them. And see, the storms that I have them at, they keep them there and they don't sell them. They just have their tank, and when anybody wants them, they pass the information. They give them my information, and then they come and buy them from me.
Gotcha.
And they
Well,
were
I would.
they were asking me if I was going to continue doing them, and I said, "Well, you got to have a break." I said, because there's no vacations and no nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally
I'm
true.
taking a break. You know, these guys aren't hard to take care of, but when they're tiny, it's a pain.
Very labor intensive.
Absolutely. And I would say too, guys, when you guys hook up with stores as hobbyist breeders, really, I mean, I am of course trying to promote the channel, but also like that's what we're here to do is be a community and share and try to help each other. Man, ask the store to put up a sign, or I could have cards made or something that like you could put by the tank that says, want to learn how to keep them, go to this channel and we'll talk about it endlessly. Whatever you want to know, you know, because I know that's worked before. Holly's done it, a few other people have done it where they've
Well,
said,
I do it to everybody that buys them from me.
oh good, good.
I tell everybody that buys them, and I also tell them about Robert King's char chamber.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And actually, I might order some and have them here to sell
I
them.
have 2 on the way right now for my grow out tank.
Well, I was going to say that, again, these are crappy pictures, but here was the pictures that I posted of my seahorses. And again, the lighting was off, so they look
Yeah,
crappy,
look at them
but
checking it out.
checking it out. Oh,
So
sleeping
cute.
on it. This is
Yeah.
before the deep clean, you guys. But yeah, I mean, they love it. They sleep with bubbles going up their butt. I'm telling you, they love it. So, and the water got
Why
like
not
so
just put
clear.
rigid airline in?
What was it?
Why not just put a piece of rigid airline?
Well,
There is a piece of rigid airline in there.
Well, and yeah,
Yeah,
and,
but you don't need the char chamber. For me, I have open-ended
Oh, to give them
airline,
bubbles. Yeah.
and the seahorses, they go for the bubbles because it's like
Yeah.
scratching their back for them.
absolutely, and the bubbles weren't the intended purpose. I only put the Robert King chamber in the front of the tank because Holly told me how much they enjoyed it. And you're right, Ray, you can do a rigid airline for the bubbles, but these bubbles are actually cleaning the water, right? I mean, it's going through the chamber. I know you're hesitant, but you don't have one. I'm telling you, even in this tank that I've neglected a bit, I put the chamber up front and all of a sudden the water was clear. It's like crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's
Well, I
like
think-
when you first use Purigen or if you first use something, but this actually lasts and it works continuously, turns into biomedia. I mean, I just love the char chambers.
What I think really happens, because it's my take, because, and especially with the fry, is the biological is more important, is the more important part of that filter.
Yeah.
And I think with that air going through it and the pores in that aquachar is excellent. But I mean, it's just, I have ammonia tags just to make sure, and I've overloaded tanks and, fed and had them packed, and everything's good. I mean, I haven't had any issues. It seems like it made it just easier to maintain.
I was trying to see if he still had my little video on the website. Apparently he doesn't, dang it. But I made a little video that shows the bacteria, not the bacteria, but the aquachar being like, bring me the food, pulling in the food. And then the biomedia saying, keep it here and we're working. Anyways, I'll have to find the video, but definitely. And Vincent, you actually, that's what really impressed me too, is I am too much of a noob. And you guys know I'm not a noob, but to me, I'm still a noob. And I don't trust myself to run on just one media, whether it be chemical, biological, or mechanical. I've got the skimmer, I've got the K1, I've got the rock, and I've got the Robert King chamber. But Vincent, you run your tanks just on the chambers, don't you?
Basically, just the chambers and
Wow.
I have hang on the back, but it just has 2 bio wheels and something
That's
to catch the
incredible.
it, and that's it. And it's just and a skimmer, but just the char chambers is all the biological.
That's
I
crazy to
use
me.
rocking
I
a
mean,
sump.
but it's working.
What?
What, Ray?
And I just use rocking a sump.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, right. There's different ways of doing it. I'm just saying it's incredible to me that that works because of the
Yeah.
way that it works, because it does both chemical and biological, and that it's working for him in these tanks full of seahorses that, you know, I'd be nervous, but it's working for him. So that's great. That's all. And Zen Ginger said they're V
But
horses.
but I do 50% water change every week.
Right.
Or at
Right.
least 50%, sometimes even more. It depends how much water I have made. And so I'm changing water all the time.
Yeah.
Everything depends on your
Me
setup,
too.
what you're trying to do. That's
I've
why,
been
again,
there.
guys, if you're new and you come and you ask a question and we're like, we can't answer that until we ask you 50 questions, that's why. It's because there's no one size fits all. There's so many ways to do this. And we've proven that seahorses are not difficult to keep as long as you set up right. And we can't wait to see Zen Ginger's setup when she gets set up. And Tammy is talking about it's exhausting to keep fry. Absolutely. Ray wants to know what you mean by what are V horses? Zen
When you're
Ginger.
old, you're not up to date on all these terminologies.
Right. And Gina's Reef said specified biomedia has more surface area than normal rocks. So just adding rocks to a sump would work, but biomedia would be more efficient. I think it also depends on the rock, the type of rock, and how old it is, how long you've had it, how long it's been cycled. I mean, I get both points. I've done it both ways. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever floats your boat is my thoughts.
Frying juveniles, if you had a sump, that would be ideal. But I'm not running a sump on anything but my reef. So I got to do something. And so I'm just
Right.
without no sumps. And it works.
Yeah, because I went my first batches of fry I raised before I had the grow out tank. I didn't have sump yet. I was using my biggest tank. I went up to a 29-gallon, and yeah, it was like Vince was saying, it was the filtration built into the hood. It has a bio wheel and one of those blue pads in it. And I was doing big time water changes for that reason because I didn't have, a better
But
filtration, but they still lived. I mean, there's
right.
always a way to do it, but yeah, if you don't have enough filtration, you're just going to have to change a lot of water.
Think about a hospital tank. You can keep
Yeah,
a
same
hospital
thing.
tank running and keep the seahorses in great water and get them better because there's hardly any, no, there's no filtration usually, and
Yeah,
you're just changing the crap out of water. So if you're willing to, like, I'm lazy
it can be
and
done.
I'm cheap. I'm cheap and lazy. I don't want
Yeah,
to buy a bunch of salt and a bunch of water, and I
here,
don't want to
here.
have to do constant water changes. Here, here. So therefore, I like all this equipment and stuff that does things for me to do less of that. But you can do it that way. And Zen Ginger explained, Ray, she just meant V because they were Vincent's seahorses. It was not a lame
Yeah, V
joke.
for
And to be
Vincent.
honest, I thought you meant something else entirely. Wink. So we're beast. We were talking about female. I don't know. Anyways, okay. Back to the point.
Okay,
Salty
Kelly.
thought it, I know I'm done. Salty thought that it was a cute joke too. I'm sorry, I'm so crass. Okay. Anyways, what else do we have to talk? Holly, you sent me some
I
pictures
fixed
and
my
videos.
sump. I did,
Okay.
yeah. So I cleaned out my sump, and it it was a huge job. And so what I did was I took out the bio balls. I had
Mm.
two half full buckets of salt water. So I swished them around in one and then I threw them in the other to sit there and wait for me to be done. And the ones, what had happened was what's in there is basically dirt,
Yep.
detritus, dirt. Like we talked about, cat and dog hair had gotten stuck in the little, because they're like bristle blocks, you know. So
Right.
stuff had gotten stuck in there, and some of them I could not even swish them out. So I took those out completely. And then over the weekend, I had bought a shop vac. And so at the end, after I took out all the bio media, and I have different kinds, I had ceramic noodles in there, I have sponge filters in there, and all the bio balls. And it's just, I store my extra filter in there too, just so I have stuff ready for an emergency or whatever. So I took everything out, swished it around, cleaned it, and then I vacuumed out all the dirt stuff in the bottom. But I did not remove all the water, which was a mistake.
Okay.
Because what happened was I filled this up, I had all the pumps off and everything. I filled this up back up, turned on the pumps, and it had stirred up what was left of the
Yep.
debris in there, and it
Yep.
all went shooting into the display tank.
Oh shit.
And so I freaked out because I didn't want the seahorses breathing all that crap. So I took them out and I put them into my grow out tank to have a slumber party for the night while the other tank cleaned out. And so they had a blast. It was just like kids going to a slumber party. They're like
I
meeting
love it.
everybody and hanging out. And normally I would never mix tanks. I mean, I keep separate stuff for both
Yep.
tanks and I don't
Yep.
mix the two. But the thing is, I've had all these seahorses for a while now. I run both the tanks the same. Everything's artificial now. Nobody's sick. My perimeters are this. So I'm like, you know what? They're probably okay. And I felt safer with that than leaving them in a tank full of dissolved organics everywhere.
No, you made a great point,
everywhere.
Holly.
So I put
We
them in
no, wait, real quick. Let me butt in real quick and just say I love the point you just made. We all, as seahorse keepers, keep separate nets for each tank, keep separate cleaners for each tank. You know, you don't mix when you're keeping seahorses. But if you've kept seahorses for 2 years and the tanks are identical, and you know the seahorses all came from the same batch, and I mean, so you just every case is different. But I love that you pointed out typically you would not mix, especially species, but even the same species from different tanks. You keep separate equipment, but in an emergency when you've kept them for years, it's a totally different topic. I agree. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I put them in there. It was like late afternoon. It was everybody had already eaten dinner and everything by that point. So I just put them in there and they had some visiting time. And then they
Now,
had breakfast
wait.
this morning.
Now are they longingly looking across the tanks at each other and being like, "I miss
Well,
you"?
they're not even in the same room.
Oh, so
But
they're
but
dreaming.
it was interesting. The behavior that went on and things were very interesting to me because they all reacted kind of differently, based on their personality. Scrappy Doo, as soon as I put him in, he looked around and he realized I'm the boss
Oh
because
boy.
he's the biggest. They're
Yep.
in the grow out tank. There's only one male, and he's smaller than Scrappy Doo and
So he's
surrounded
new.
by six females. So Scrappy Doo comes in and looks around. He's like, okay, I'm the boss of this tank. He was pretty comfortable right away. Um, Dandy was really interesting because remember, he's my handicapped seahorse that doesn't swim very well. But out of all the seahorses, I think he had the best time in that tank. He went exploring and he was meeting the females, he was meeting other seahorses and getting around in there. What I found was really interesting though was they all acted like that saying goes, when in Rome.
Ah,
They acted like the seahorses in the grow out tank. They didn't have their normal behavior. Instead of like swimming through the column like they normally do, they moved around on the floor just like the ones in the grow out tank do.
interesting.
And in the morning, I put their feeding stations in for breakfast with their chains and everything, so it looked the same, so they could come there for breakfast. But the way I feed the grow out tank is I broadcast feed. And what was interesting is that all the seahorses from the display tank, they got excited about the broadcast feeding, but they wouldn't eat it that way. And they didn't go to their feeding stations. They wanted to eat out of the shells on the floor, but they did not want to eat any of the mysis that was on the floor of the tank.
Huh.
Because in their tank, they won't eat off the floor. It has to be in a dish.
That
And
really
so,
is interesting because, many people say, especially like with adolescents, if you have fry that aren't
uh,
eating, stick an older seahorse that will eat in with them and they'll learn from it. But
uh-huh.
apparently, your guys are stubborn and they want it the way they want it.
That was
Yeah,
too
but I
short
mean,
term.
but they're the older ones, and it was their only meal in that tank. So I don't know what they would have done. I think part of it was, I think they were excited about the feeding frenzy and they were too excited to eat because they
Mm.
don't know those other seahorses. They're like, what's going on? Everybody's so excited. And,
Well, and Ray,
so
you said it'd be short term, right?
Yeah, this like she
yeah.
only had it overnight and partway
Yes.
into the next day, and that's
Hmm.
not time enough for any seahorse to get used to something different.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had the opposite experience. I had when I was trying to um feed seahorses out of a shell or a dish. Um, I could get some to do it. I couldn't get them all to do it.
Yep. I had the
And
same
so I said
experience.
to hell with it. I just broadcast feed, and then I found
Hmm.
I liked it better anyway because I got to see more
Hmm.
activity out of the seahorses. And then I figured, well, for me, any activity I do is an improvement for me. So maybe the same thing for the seahorses.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But and what are the pictures and videos you sent me, Holly? What am I
So
showing?
some of that. There's some of that going on.
All right, hang
So
on, let me pull it up. So the first one is this. All right, tell me what we're looking at.
I think I think that's just I took some pictures, yeah. So that's Scrappy Doo in the grow
Manning
out.
up. He's like the
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah, no, he was.
All colorful and happy. All right.
So and this is him going home.
He's like,
So yes, you can
no.
see the tanks are in different rooms, so I had to carry him across the house. Yeah, and send him back home.
Good to show that can be done, though. That you don't have to
Yeah, and
freak
that's
out.
how, I just hold, and usually they'll like wrap their tail around your pinky finger or little finger when you just carry them gently. And interesting, he was vibrating when I was carrying him. His
Yeah, that's
body. He didn't do the clicking sound, but it reminded me of a heartbeat. He was like I could feel him.
Yeah, and that's a scary feeling if anybody new ever feels that. And that does mean they don't like it. I mean that it
Yeah.
does mean they don't like it, but they're not
He didn't
gonna,
make the clicking sound, but yeah, his little body was vibrating, but he's the only one that did that. And he didn't seem scared or stressed. I mean, he went about his business, both tanks.
he
He
was
was
just telling
fine.
you, I
He's just
don't
telling
like
me, better
this.
not drop me, Mom. This is
Yeah,
not fun.
He,
exactly.
he was probably okay the first time you did it, but to keep doing it, he probably
Yeah,
didn't
he's
like
Right.
it.
all, oh no,
Right.
not again.
Yeah.
Right. And what's this, Holly?
Yeah, so then if you notice, Candy tried to bring the purple flower with her.
She sure did. I want to keep
She
this.
carried it into the other.
That
I
is
had to get it
crazy.
away from her. And she let go of it when I put her in the other tank. But
That is funny though. She said, I like this. I want to take it. Thank you very
yeah,
much. I
and
love
they're
it.
like, Mom, I want this. They all like that purple flower. That purple silk flower is a favorite of most of the seahorses.
And you can see her bending sideways. They don't like being out of the water. We're not at all trying to
No,
say
no.
take
It's
your
not a
seahorses out of the
pleasant
water.
experience.
Right. But
They're not
they
like a
won't
dog
die.
or a cat. They don't want to be pet or handled
No.
really, but they
My
handle
girls
it well.
my girls actually ask me all the time, "Can I touch them? Can I pet them?" No. They don't really
They're
like that, but it's
no.
okay. Anyhow, and what are we looking at? Oh God, your tank
Okay,
is so perfect.
so that's the display tank. So that's the one that I had to leave overnight and filter out. So I changed 2 filter socks
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and then this morning was tank cleaning day anyway. So what I did was that internal filter was full of crap. And then no seahorses in the tank. So I took everything out. I had left the goby, the shrimp, and the crabs in there. So I figured, they would be fine. And they were. So I took everything out and shut off the pumps. So everything, all the crap settled, and I vacuumed everything out. I scrubbed everything. Stuff went to the bleach bucket. And yeah, the skimmer was yucky, everything, but now it's fresh and clean and everybody's back home and
Man, this looks like seahorse heaven. It looks like it reminds me of SpongeBob and shit. I mean,
like
they probably love
Disneyland
it.
in
Yeah, they
there.
probably love it. Okay, and what's this?
And this is Candy, not an hour after they got home. It was lunchtime, so she was letting me know.
Ah,
She always does, she lets me know it's time to eat, so she does her little dance. And then the dance ends in the food dish with her
yes.
staring into it like, okay,
Where
Mom, put
is the
something in
food?
here.
Where is the food?
And
I
so
love
this
it.
was just after I'd handled her. So, I mean, and all of them were this, none of them were that tore up about it that they're in hiding
Right.
or freaked out. I mean, they're fine afterwards. So,
Sure. Well, I love it. Thank you for sharing because that's amazing. I love it. She's like, Mom,
yeah, she's
you're
all, now
late.
that we're
It's
home,
food
how
time.
about some food? It's
Yep.
lunchtime now.
Thank you, women are nuts.
Ray, you're not allowed to say that.
You think of all the seahorses I've had in 20 years, and I've never named one.
Oh, come on.
I have a few that are not named. In the grow out tank, I only named a few of them.
I've never named a fish or a seahorse or just.
What
That's what I'm
about you
saying.
guys
It's the
in the
ones.
audience? You guys in the audience, do you name your fish? I mean, come on, salty. Come on, you gotta have named something, right?
And what
I named
about
my dog.
Heather?
You
Heather's
named your
named
dog.
all her seahorses, and she has a lot.
I used to. I had names for every adult seahorse. The fry, when you got that many fry,
I
it's
don't.
right.
I
But I
only name
mean,
those if there's a couple or a standout one. Like Scrappy Doo got named because he was the only survivor.
right.
You know,
That
it's
was my little Cheryl. Yep. Yep. But maybe you men are just mean or, not loving enough or something. I don't
not
know.
loving.
I got a neighbor that he named his dog,
Right?
and his wife never lets him live it down.
Well, that reminds me of Walking Dead and Daryl. And, anybody who knows that reference would know it fits. But, anyways. All right, you guys, what else do we have to chat about? It's hitting that 2 hour. I try to bring Wine Wednesday down to 1 hour, but we just have too much fun. But I do have to work tomorrow, so you got 10 minutes. Anything else we got to talk about? Any other questions from the audience? Gina said, it depends. If a name pops up in my head right away, then it clicks. Otherwise, I don't. Like my 6 lane wrasse is Captain Jerk.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
clownfish that were jerks, and I named them names I can't say on the air. But totally.
Six
And my
Flags.
little Cheryl was the first seahorse fry that I got to survive. I've told this story before, but I named her after a friend of mine, not the Cheryl that comes to this, although she is strong and awesome too. But I named her after Cheryl Dempsey, who was a reef friend of mine who dealt with like a lot of stuff. I won't go into her personal stuff, but just a lot of stuff, and came out smelling like roses, was strong, survived no matter what, and it just fit, like this is little Cheryl.
Sweet.
It's yeah. So there was meaning behind it. Gina said clownfish are little Satan nuggets. I like that. I like
That's
that.
good.
And the Zen Ginger said, I probably would. Fish that I only have a few of, like my goldies, get names. But I don't like to name all the Tetris. Right. Holly does
I'm the
freshwater too now.
same
Right.
way. I'm the same way. My freshwater fish don't have names.
Right.
And the other things that are in the display tank that are not seahorses, like I have a crab that I call Big Crab.
Right.
And
Right.
and my goby, I call him Goby. And the peppermint
Right.
shrimp, I call him Shrimp. So it's kind of like Ray's neighbor with dog.
Well, but like my Aphrodite that I got from you, I named her the goddess of love. I want her to give me babies. So, there's meaning behind it. And their personalities when you get to know them, I would
They
name
do all have personalities.
and I would name, like, I have this friend named Wallid. I haven't talked to him in years, but when I was deep into Facebook, he was a troll. Like, he trolled pages. He was somebody none of you would like, but I loved him. He was awesome. And then when one of my seahorses that ended up in the bachelor's pad was just a jackass, right? He was Wallid. And, it was just a special thing. So, whatever, Ray. I think it's fine if we name our seahorses. It doesn't matter. Just gives them,
You you should
they
have
don't
seen
respond to their names.
speaking of personality, you should have seen Sadie in the grow out tank. She was the only one really that I don't think really liked being in there
Really?
because she spent a lot of time pacing in the front of the tank like an animal at the zoo wanting to get out of the cage. She swam back and forth along the front looking out like, where's my home? How do I get out of here?
Interesting. So she
And
just
I
has, yeah.
yeah, and then, she was happy to be home. Um Dandy, I think he liked it in there. I think he met a lot of the ladies, and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
funny because when I put them all back in the display tank, Dandy and Scrappy Doo spent the day together, and they don't usually. But they didn't have lunch. The lady seahorses ate lunch, but neither of the boys ate lunch, and they were hanging out together on Scrappy Doo's hitch. And I could just imagine them talking about their experience. Like,
did you see that girl with the nice tail?
yeah, there was 6 ladies in that tank and only one dude.
Yep. They probably had a blast. They probably were.
Dandy's all, I almost got some egg.
I almost got some egg. I love it.
There was one of the females in there. I call her Betty. She's one of the ones I actually named because she always goes after males. You know, when I had 2 males, she went after both of them. Well, she goes after the male that's in there. And she was trying to mate with that male today. She had her ovipositor out. And remember, he doesn't want to swim. His strategy is to lay on the ground and hope some eggs get in his pouch. So they were doing that. And of course, Dandy, you know, he's handicapped, so he's usually kind of just laying around. So he happened to get in the middle of all that. And here she is, like practically on top of Dandy with her ovipositor out. And I'm like, please don't get Dandy pregnant.
Holly is the only one in the world who has seahorses that actually lie down to make babies. She has human seahorses. And Gina's Reeve said, my black belt cichlet's name is Queen Bee. The B does not stand for bumblebee. I love it. And Shyla said, what was she forgot to name her Mandarin.
Yeah,
now that Mandy. We're talking names, but
I
she
named
doesn't.
my Mandarin Mandy.
Yeah, Ray was trying to tell her to name her Mandy, and you guys notice as we're talking about this, me and Holly are all like, "Yay!" and Ray and Vincent are like, "What?"
They're not people. They don't come when you call them. So what's the point, right? Is that what you guys are thinking?
But I mean, don't you know your seahorses by personality? It's the same as having a name.
Well, I know different ones, but not for a name. I mean, I thought of the name. You know, I mean, it's like no fish. I mean, because if somebody comes over, like when I had big angels and triggerfish and stuff, if they came over, I'm not going to say, "Oh, that's Bobby," and that's
Bob.
You know what it is, and
I do
Bob,
because
I do.
But I do because there's a story behind it. I'm like, that's little Cheryl. This is the first seahorse I was able to raise from a little egg to a big fat seahorse. And she's so strong, she'll, you know, and then she's dancing while I'm talking. I think they do respond to their names.
And you know
she'd
what?
be like,
they do
look at me.
For your finger. You can call them with your finger. I do that when I want the seahorses to come somewhere. Like if I fed them and they haven't noticed.
I do tap on the glass. I'll tap on the glass with my finger, and they all come.
They'll follow it. Yeah.
But aren't you supposed to not tap on the glass? Doesn't it hurt some fish's
I'm
ears?
not tapping hard enough.
I don't tap. I just show them.
Yeah, but see, I don't tap. It's just my fingernail. You know.
I just have to question you guys so nobody in the audience is up at their tank going, "Hey, you know, we don't want that. Don't do that."
That's my fingernail making the noise on the glass.
Sure.
And they can hear it, and they all come. But it's Stevie.
Yeah. I don't even touch it a lot of the times. I'll just show them my finger and I'll move it and they'll follow it to where I want them to go. If I want to show them something, they'll follow a finger.
That's something that I still have after so many years of seahorses, and I don't have that many anymore. But when people find out, like, they're just like, oh my God, you have seahorses? There's so many people out there that don't even realize you can keep them. You know, and then they say, I want some. And then I go through, okay, here's what you need. And they're like, never mind. Right. But I mean, if you want to do it, it's a cool thing you can do. And Shyla, we need to see some of your tank, more of your tank for sure. And Gina's Reef, we got to get you in here. Anything else, guys? I'm sorry. I am trying to cut it short. I know. I love the naming of seahorses in this chat. I love watching Ray's face be like, eye roll. It's all great, but I do have to call it to a close tonight unless there's any last minute questions. Don't forget, guys, come next week. The channel will be different. Make sure you check out YouTube. You'll be able to purchase shirts. You'll be able to use your seahorse emojis that I created. Come back next week and we'll go through all of that. And I should have new seahorses from Vincent, hopefully, to share with you, as long as weather permits.
Weather holds out for you guys.
But Ray, anything else from you?
No, after you're off, then we'll talk about something.
Okay, and whatever it is, I'll tell you all next week. Wink. Holly,
That's
Vincent,
what
you
I'm
good?
telling you afterwards, so they don't know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just teasing. But
Yeah.
okay, well then we are going to have to close it for tonight, but we appreciate everybody that came. Come back next week for new stuff. And don't forget to tell your friends to come join us because we love new questions. But for tonight, happy Wine Wednesday. Everybody say cheers.
And